Hey, mom friends, welcome back to the Real Motherhood with Jacque Jackson.
Who are you? What do you stand for? What are you calling yourself? What are you saying to yourself? Identity in motherhood is such a broad topic, yet the way I see it, it's not spoken about enough. Who you are before you become a mom and who you are after often are not the same. Sometimes this is for the better, other times it's not. Here's my side of identity. She's too selfish to have kids. This was said about me, right in front of me, but not directly to me. Blackie Blackson was my unofficial nickname growing up. That's why you don't have a dad. My age wasn't even double digits. He used to say, "It's alive," when I walked in the room. Before I knew who I was, so many people told me. While I worked to figure it out, I wasn't protected. I was picked on. Of course, I didn't realize this then. I just knew how I felt. Unsure, confused, conflicted, alone. I don't fit. And maybe if it had come into contact with me then, you would have never noticed because of my outward personality. But truly inside really, let's be honest, I still am a hot mess. Was I pretending, or was I not fully aware of myself enough to recognize the crisis? I don't know. But what I do know is how, as I have progressed through life, that something has begun to unfold. This happened for many women, but I started to play around with the idea that none of what I knew about myself was 100% accurate. Like, really, let me challenge the truth of who I am. Then motherhood happened. And man, even though it's a beast of a position, I'm so grateful for it. Way more than I'd like to admit, so much has haunted me about my life. And as I stand at the kitchen sink scrubbing dried oatmeal from bowls, and as I sit behind piles of laundry, I consider how words and behaviors have been used to describe me without my permission. I'm not all of those things, or am I? The weight of that impact has been greater than I recognized. And some of the things I would say were accurate. Some, many of them not. But I absorb them unknowingly. And I think that many of us do this by walking around carrying other people's perception and projection of who we are, allowing ourselves to believe it. Sometimes it's easier to believe it than it is to reject it. And especially when you are surrounded and in an environment that enjoys keeping you there. The whole world has been turned on its head with the language of how people identify. And maybe for some folks it's inciting, but for me, it's become insightful. I'm constantly thinking to myself, what am I going to do with this uncovering of identity? My identity before motherhood leaks into my parenting style. I often say to myself, I don't want to be that person, or I don't want to be like this. I see that all of my stuff will naturally become the stuff of my children if I don't take a look at it. I don't want to be my childhood, teenage years, or my young adult years in full. There are obviously beautiful parts of every season that I've lived, but man, the overwhelm of what to take and what to leave can be crippling, especially when I think about how every day is important, as I am the face and the behaviors and the words my children watch and hear first. If I don't learn and consider my own identity, how can I teach them about theirs? How can I help them wade through it? A lot of days it feels like we are really just walking alongside each other. I take a few steps forward and it seems I'm ahead. then they catch up and teach me something more about myself that they picked up on from watching me. There's an intense pressure to operate in who I'm becoming. I'm learning to test who I am against a truth that I didn't really understand before becoming a mom. That truth is God and who His word tells me I am. A lot of this type of stuff is easy to say, but very difficult to live. Conversations with myself under my breath, cries and prayers when I slip away to shower. My desire to claim the best version of myself is exhausting, but I know it's a worthy cause because every negative name and past experience is falling off of me. I remember listening to a book a few years ago when I was pregnant with my second son. I was big and pregnant in the summer months of Houston, so it was real hot. We took a walk, me and the kids. I had the audiobook called Parenting playing in my headphones as the kids searched for insects and flowers for us to investigate later. There was a line that made me stop the stroller I was pushing in the middle of the street. It felt so offensive, but it also felt very right. It said, God gave us children to show us how much we need Him. Now, I'm not arguing with anybody about how true this is. Whether you are a believer or not, motherhood is not for chumps, and we all need a source of help. We all have someone or something we can call on when we struggle with who we are. I find myself pleading to have clarity so that I can do all that is in my power to repair myself and keep their identity from being shattered. Is it all on me? Absolutely not. But who would I be if I didn't fight like it was? My heart is not just mine, it's theirs. My identity isn't static. I'm so much all at once, and all of me is still becoming. All right, mom friends, thank you so much for joining me on The Real Motherhood. I can't wait to connect and have a conversation with you next week. Be sure to follow the show and leave a review so that others can see how this podcast has impacted you. Until next time, I hear you and I see you.